Why won't this stupid thing unlock? Just open up.
I woke up to the kind of metallic scraping that makes your stomach drop, like someone prying open a locked box in the dead of night. I ran to the window, and there she was, bent over my patrol SUV, fists full of keys, jamming them into my door like she was breaking into Fort Knox. The paint was scratching, the metal was grinding. This woman wasn't panicked. She was focused, breathing hard, muttering, "One of these damn keys better work." I stepped outside, expecting guilt. Instead, Karen spun around like a villain mid-monologue clipboard, raised eyes wild, voice shaking with fake authority. "This vehicle is illegal. I'm impounding it under HOA Regulation 14B. But in dead serious, she lifted that jangle of random keys and said, "I have a master key. IT opens any car." She accused me, the sheriff, of stealing my own patrol SUV. Then she pulled out her phone, dialed 911, and screamed that she was detaining a dangerous impersonator. And the moment those sirens hit the street, the moment she realized who she had just called the cops on, that was the second everything blew apart. But let me start from the beginning. Before we dive into, I'd love to know where you're listening from today. And don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons for more interesting stories just like this. My house sits on the edge of town, far enough from the noise, close enough to civilization, and just outside the boundary lines of the newest HOA development. You'd think that would keep the peace. But HOAs have a way of stretching their authority until the whole neighborhood is choking on it. And in this case, all that authority has a name: Karen. Karen isn't just a resident of the HOA. She's the self-appointed sheriff of the sidewalks, commander of the cul-de-sacs, and dictator of decorative mulch. The board didn't give her power. She took it the way a toddler takes crayons, loudly, aggressively, and with zero permission. And for reasons only Karen understands, she hates my patrol SUV. She calls it an eyesore, an aggressive visual display, and her personal favorite, a violation of community aesthetics. I reminded her every single time that my home isn't part of her HOA. My driveway isn't part of her HOA. My grass, my gravel, my mailbox, my trees, none of it belongs to her board, her rules, or her opinion. But Karen never let jurisdiction stand in her way. She complained anyway, sent letters, left notes, filed HOA visual disruption reports, took photos from the sidewalk like she was documenting a crime scene. And once, I'm certain, she measured my driveway slope with a level just to check if it was within neighborhood guidelines. Except again, I'm not in her neighborhood. And then she started talking about her master key. I overheard her one afternoon as she lectured a group of bored neighbors standing around the HOA's mail kiosk. She held up a jangling ring of keys and said with absolute confidence, "This can open any vehicle on HOA land. Any. They all use standard makes. People have no idea." Someone asked who gave her that authority. She replied, "Authority doesn't need to be given. It needs to be recognized." That was my first hint something was off. I ignored it, of course. People say weird things, and I've dealt with far stranger behavior in my line of work than a suburban vigilante with a key obsession. But the next day, things got stranger. I caught her standing at the edge of my driveway, on my side of the property line, pretending to examine the visibility angle of my mailbox. I had one foot practically in my grass and was peering around my property like she was deciding where to put a shed. "What exactly are you inspecting?" I asked. She flinched, then gave me a stiff smile. "Safety compliance review." "For whose property?" She didn't answer. She walked away fast, scribbling something on her clipboard like she wanted it to look official. I should have known then what was coming. Because the next morning, just after sunrise, I woke to a metallic scraping sound. Not animals. Weather. Something deliberate. I looked out the window. There was Karen, bent over my patrol SUV, jamming random metal keys into the driver's side door. And I heard her mutter under her breath, "One of these damn keys better work." Karen didn't even look startled when I walked up behind her. She froze mid-scrape, keys jammed into my patrol SUV door. But she didn't flinch, didn't apologize, didn't even seem embarrassed. She just straightened her spine like she'd been waiting for this moment. "Step away from the vehicle, Karen." She turned slowly, chin high, clipboard tucked under one arm like a shield of authority. "I'm impounding this vehicle," she declared, as if announcing the winner of a beauty pageant. "Per HOA, Regulation 14B, non-compliant vehicle aesthetic and placement protocols." Then she whipped out a sheet of paper full color, laminated, with a fake HOA logo she clearly printed off the internet. Bold letters across the top read, "HOA Vehicle Enforcement Protocols," and beneath them were bullet points that would make any sane person choke. Things like unauthorized vehicles may be seized. HOA officers may access locked automobiles. A failure to comply will result in detainment. I stared at the sheet, then at her. "Karen, my property is not part of your HOA, and this vehicle belongs to the county." She smiled brightly. Too brightly. That's what a person impersonating law enforcement would say. I blinked. "I am law enforcement." That's what a criminal would say. I opened my mouth, closed it again. "There are arguments you can't win because the other person has boarded a train headed straight off the map." Karen marched around me like she was circling a perp. This SUV has been parked illegally for weeks. It is intimidating. It violates community visuals. And I suspect it is stolen. You suspect the sheriff's patrol SUV marked, numbered, and GPS tricked is stolen. I know what stolen vehicles look like, she sniffed. And yours is clearly suspicious. You hide it on this property to avoid detection. I could actually feel a migraine forming. Karen, step away from the vehicle now. Instead, she reached for her phone with dramatic flair like a hero in the final act of a movie. Then you leave me no choice, she said, pressing 911 like she was detonating charges on a bridge. I'm reporting this. I crossed my arms and waited. Karen inhaled sharply. Svisecha, this is HOA Officer Karen. I am detaining a dangerous suspect. He is impersonating a sheriff and in possession of a stolen police vehicle. I could hear the dispatcher pause. Not just pause, stop breathing, pause. Then, in the flattest voice imaginable, Ma'am, what badge number does the suspect claim to have? Karen pointed at me triumphantly. He says his badge number is 2147. There was a long, dreadful silence. Then the dispatcher responded carefully. That is Sheriff 2147. Karen frowned. No, he's lying. Send officers immediately. I am conducting a lawful detention. The dispatcher muted herself for a moment, probably to swear loudly. Then she came back. Units are already en route to confirm. Karen snapped her phone shut, victorious. You're in big trouble, she informed me confidently. I just sighed. 2 patrol cars were already rolling down my gravel road, and every officer in them knew exactly whose SUV Karen had just tried to impound. The 2 deputies barely had time to step out of their vehicles before Karen started flailing her arms at them like she was directing aircraft. Officers, over here, she screeched, pointing at me like she'd cornered a fugitive on the FBI's most wanted list. Arrest him. That's my community vehicle. Deputy Harris stepped out first, sunglasses sliding down his nose as he took in the scene. Karen hunched over my patrol SUV door, holding a keyring the size of a medieval torture device. Deputy Lopez followed, already biting the inside of her cheek to keep from laughing. Karen stormed toward them like a woman leading a crusade. I've been trying to secure this stolen property, she declared. This man has been impersonating an officer, and I've caught him in the act. You're welcome. Lopez glanced at me. I shrugged. She inhaled slowly, preparing for impact. All right, ma'am, Harris said diplomatically. We're going to need you to explain what exactly you think is going on here. Karen launched into her speech like she'd rehearsed it in the mirror every night. This man who refuses to identify himself has illegally parked a fake patrol vehicle on HOA territory. I attempted to perform a lawful seizure using my master keys, which your department is required to honor under easement authority. Harris blinked. Twice. Ma'am, you have easement authority over the sheriff's office? Yes, she said proudly. And these, she shook her overloaded keyring like it was a weapon, are my community master keys. Lopez stepped forward, curious. Mind if we take a look at those? Karen handed them over reverently, as though they were ancient relics. Lopez examined them, then raised an eyebrow. These are house keys, she said carefully. Most of them labeled Lost and Found HOA. They open things, Karen insisted. Lopez whispered, not your thing. Meanwhile, I pulled out my body cam and tapped the playback screen. While you're checking that, I said, you might want to see this. The video showed everything. Karen approaching my SUV. Karen jamming different keys into the lock. Karen scratching the paint. Karen muttering, one of these damn things has to work. Lopez exhaled sharply. She was losing the battle not to laugh. Harris cleared his throat. Ma'am, based on the footage, we need to make something very clear to you. Karen lifted her chin. Finally. Go ahead, arrest the impersonator. Harris didn't break eye contact. You've committed attempted breaking and entering. Karen's jaw dropped. Lopez added, you also filed a false police report. And Harris continued, pointing at the patrol SUV. You tampered with a law enforcement vehicle. Karen went still, not moving a muscle, not blinking, not breathing. It was the moment when the earth stopped spinning, when a person realizes the script they've been performing in their head does not match reality. She looked from the deputies, to me, to the scratched door, to her ring of random keys. You, she whispered faintly. You're actually the sheriff. I nodded slowly, and I called 911. On you. Yes, ma'am. Silence. A long, beautiful silence. Karen's World 1 made of laminated HOA rule sheets, imaginary authority, and delusional power finally cracked. And for the first time all morning, she had absolutely nothing to say. Karen tried to recover her dignity even as Harris pulled out his citation book. This is absurd, she sputtered. I was enforcing community safety protocols. You can't penalize someone for doing their civic duty. Lopez didn't even look up. Your civic duty doesn't include breaking into a law enforcement vehicle. I wasn't breaking, I was conducting an inspection. I folded my arms. With a keyring full of lost and found house keys, Karen opened her mouth, closed it, then opened it again. No sound came out, just pure, choking indignation. Harris finished writing. You are being cited for attempted unlawful entry, filing a false police report, and tampering with official equipment. You will receive instructions by mail regarding court dates and restitution. Karen gasped, like she'd been personally betrayed by democracy. The deputies escorted her toward the sidewalk, as she tried to explain, loudly, that real authority doesn't need a badge. The irony was so thick, you could have spread it on toast. By noon, the entire neighborhood knew exactly what had happened. By evening, the HOA board called an emergency meeting. Word travels faster than common sense in a suburb, and the turnout was massive. I wasn't there, but 3 different neighbors gleefully gave me play-by-play the next day, apparently. The moment Karen tried to defend herself claiming she was performing a lawful impoundment, the room exploded. Homeowners began standing up one after another, recounting their own encounters. Karen inspecting package deliveries. Karen using master key privilege to test shed locks. Karen trying to unlock the fence gate of a neighbor's garden. Karen attempting to secure a child's bike because it wasn't HOA-approved storage. The board finally saw the pattern. She wasn't enforcing rules, she was testing boundaries. Everyone's. The vote to remove her from all committees was nearly unanimous. The vote to ban her from any compliance activities was absolutely unanimous. In the end, Karen was not only stripped of every sliver of power she'd imagined she had, but also ordered to pay for the paint damage and lock repairs to my SUV. A formal warning was placed on her record for abusing emergency services. She would not be dialing 911 for HOA drama ever again without consequences. A week later, my patrol SUV gleamed in the afternoon sun, the new paint reflecting so cleanly you could see clouds drifting by in the fenders. I was checking the final repairs when a neighbor out for a walk paused at the end of my driveway. He tipped his cap. "Sheriff," he said with a grin. "Thank you for finally stopping her." "We've all been waiting for someone too," I laughed. "She really tried to arrest me with lost and found keys." He shook his head, still chuckling, and kept walking. Since then, the HOA hasn't so much as looked in the direction of my property. No complaints, no inspections, no late-night photo sessions. Turns out nothing quiets a nosy HOA faster than watching their loudest enforcer get escorted away by the very sheriff she tried to put in handcuffs. Peace returned simple, quiet, and mine.